All right. I think we up. Okay. All right. All right. I think we good now. All right. Shalom, Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai Bakathum to the brothers. Shalom, Yahweh Shema Alathun, Hashem Yahweh Shai to the sisters. We are the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group, nor any other Christian organization. All right. All right, let's get to it. So everybody knows what today is, right? Anybody online or in class, let me know. Anybody know what today is? Does anybody know what today is? Anybody? We should all know what today is, right? Let's see. Okay, another Christian holiday celebrated by man. Khan, that's true. But I want you guys to specify what's today. Another holiday. Okay, Memorial Day. Okay, anybody else? A pagan holiday, Memorial Day. Okay. Okay, all right. You guys are pretty much on that. Anybody else want to give it a shot?
Memorial Day.
Right, Memorial Day. All right. Tawab, Yalada, that's Tawab. Most High in Christ. You're absolutely right. It's Memorial Day. Absolutely. Princess, you want to give it a shot too? What's today?
Memorial Day.
Right, come on. Memorial Day. Memorial Day. Most High in Christ. So Memorial Day is a paganistic holiday. It's the white man's holiday. All right. It's our oppressor's holiday that he wants to honor the fallen of his soldiers that served in his military, served in his army, served in his navy, served in his Marines, served in his Air Force, served in his Coast Guard. That's what Memorial Day is about the fallen soldiers, man, that served in America's military, in America's Navy, Army, Marines, and Air Force. That's what Memorial Day is roughly about. All right. I'm not going to get into the antics and things like that. All right, but we know roughly what Memorial Day is about, and that's what we're going to discuss. Because Memorial Day is also is a very historic factor when it comes into the black community. A lot of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans served and bled in all of the wars in America. We may not know this, and we may have not been taught this as so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. But if you are Latino, right? If you are black, so-called Negro, if you're from Trinidad, Tobago, the Virgin Islands, right? If you're Cuban, if you're Puerto Rican, Dominican, El Salvadorian, Costa Rican, Panamanian, Brazilian, right? Even if you're Mexican, if you're Native Indian, like the Iroquois and the Navajo and the Creek and the Muskegee and the Cherokee and the Mohegans, the Mohawkins and the Apache and the Comanche, right? You are God's chosen people. And if you are so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American, you may have to know this history about Memorial Day because, you know, a lot of blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, we fought in all the wars of America. We fought in the Revolution. We fought in the War of 1812. We fought in the Civil War. We fought in World War I. We fought in World War II. We fought in the Cold War. We fought in the Vietnam War. We were in Desert Storm. We fought. We went overseas in 2001 after September 11th, after the towers fell, we have always served in America's military. We have always served in our oppressors' military, in their army, in their navy, in their air force, and their marines. We have always served, right? But we never actually been taught the reason why we have served and the reason behind us serving. Now, to anyone out there, anyone in class, anyone online, I got a quick question. And I always ask this question too sometimes. What's today's topic about? We already went over Memorial Day, right? But what's today's topic about? What else is today being spoken about? Okay, joining America, fighting in someone else's war. Okay. Joining the military. Okay, all right. The joining of America's military. Okay, all right. You guys are roughly correct. Joining it right. Joining America's military. Right. Oh, the Aquab got it correct completely. Military for freedom. Joining America's military for freedom. You want to add to your answer. You want to add freedom to that. All right. To anyone to ask that question. Alright, the reason why I ask that question because we want to know the topic. Every time I put online, I always write a general topic of what we're talking about because it's very important and every key word is very important to know. So I said Memorial Day. Why? Because we're going to be talking about Memorial Day. And two, joining America's military for freedom. We're going to talk about so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans joining America's military for freedom. The key word out of that entire, there's two main key words, right, in that sentence or in that title or in that topic that we're talking about. The two key words is joining and then freedom. Those are the main two words that are very important to pay close attention to. Joining and freedom. All right, joining and freedom. Joining in freedom. So, does anybody know historically why so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans were known to fight in America's wars? Does anybody know any history behind it? Give me some history that you know about so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans in America's military. Give me some history from the 30s, the 40s, the 1800s, the 1700s. You tell me. I want to know what you guys know so far. Let me know. Enlighten me. Give me something to work with, Bubba Kwashab. I want to know. The first scripture we're going to go to is Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 30. We're going to start at verse 1. All right. Remember, the two key words in this entire thing is joining and then freedom. We want to focus on joining and then freedom. All right? There's a reason why we have to understand those two things. All right? Joining and then freedom. See, so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, we lived in so much hell in America. We have to understand we lived in so much hell in America. We were murdered. We've been raped. We've been molested. We've been sex trafficked. This has been happening from the beginning of time since blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans stepped foot on this land. We've been sex trafficked, murdered, molested, sexually assaulted, sold, bought, separated from our families. The minute so-called Latinos and Mexicans and Dominicans and Cubans and blacks and Negroes and Trinidadians and the people from Barbados and the people from Tobago. The moment we step on the land of our oppressors, what I mean by the land of our oppressors, when this land been conquered and taken and been powered by our oppressor, when we first step foot on this land, right, we've been through absolute hell. This is what happened to us. We were enslaved. We were slaves in America. Those very same people that you see that are white and pale skin with blue eyes and blonde hair, maybe even brown eyes and brown hair, but they got pale skin and they get red in the sun. Those are your oppressor. Those are the descendants of the very same race of people that murdered yours, that sex trafficked yours, that sexually assaulted yours, that sold and bought yours. Those are the descendants, man. We are walking among the descendants of murderers, the biggest murderers and rapists and thieves of all time. But we don't know that because the Christian church teaches you to love everybody and expect them to be your friend. And no one understands the hardships and the horrors that so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans have to live through in America, in our ghettos, in our neighborhoods. It wasn't always like that, right? Now the sister said the fought in World War I and World War II. Okay, the Civil War. Okay, these are good answers. Okay, these are about history, about blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Okay, so I want us to focus on joining and freedom. Let's get to it. So Isaiah chapter 30 verse 1. Now this is the Bible. We're in the Old Testament, but we are in the Bible. These are God's words. Now this is something that the Christian church doesn't teach you. No matter if it's from the Old Testament or the New Testament, it's still God's word. Tell me if I'm wrong. Please tell me if I'm incorrect. No matter, Salaki, no matter if it's in the Old Testament or the New. Doesn't matter if it's in Genesis or Revelation. It doesn't matter if it's in Exodus or John or Luke, I should say. It doesn't matter where it's at. It can be in Genesis and Matthew. It can be in Exodus, or it could be in it could either be in Luke or John or 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy, Titus, Galatians, Ephesians, Revelations. It does not matter where it is. As long as it's in the Bible, these are God's words. And if you are a prophet of God, then the very things that you should be speaking should be of what the prophets used to speak about, in their character, in the way they walked, in the way they talked, the way they spoke, the way they dressed, and what they said, which was of the Lord. So we are going to be. So now we're in Isaiah, right? We're in Isaiah. We're in Isaiah chapter 30, and we're going to stop. We're going to start at verse 1. Isaiah chapter 30, verse 1. All right. Isaiah chapter 30, verse 1. Woe to the rebellious children. So the Lord said, woe to the rebellious children. Does anybody know who these rebellious children are? Anyone online, anyone in class? Who are these rebellious children that the Lord is talking about? Anybody want to give it a shot? Who are these rebellious children? Like, what does it mean to be rebellious? Anybody know first? Let's talk now. Yes, still answer the question who the rebellious people are. But what does it mean to rebel? That's rebellious. It comes from the word rebel. Does anybody know what it means to the definition of rebel? There's a reason why the Lord used the word rebellious, because it comes from the word rebel. Remember when I teach the Hebrew class and I talked about conjugations? Do you guys remember that? Do you guys remember in the Hebrew class when I talked about conjugations? Now, even though, okay, now to not confuse anyone, right? Rebellious is an adjective. It could be either an adjective or a noun. It could be either or. The rebel could either be a verb, a noun, or whatever, but rebellious is a adjective, right? That's literally a conjugation of that word rebel, but not as a verb, but used as an adjective, right? It could actually be used as a adverb, a slash adjective slash verb, right? So if you guys can recollect, rebellious comes from the word rebel. Okay, so ayan, so akwa, Israelites, that's correct. The rebellious children are talking about the Israelites. If you are so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American, you are the Israelites. You are God's chosen people. That's who you are, right? So the rebellious children that the Lord is talking about, woe to the rebellious children, they're talking about the Israelites. The Lord is talking about you. It's talking about us. It's talking about the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Now I asked the question about what it means to rebel, because the Lord used an adjective, rebellious, that comes from the root. The root word of rebellious is to rebel. That's a verb. Ayan answered it partially correct, but I want you to give me more to it. To go against what? What does it mean to rebel? To go against what? To go against what? Anybody? To go against what? It's very important to understand, right, what the Lord is trying to tell so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. There's a reason why the Lord said rebellious. There's a reason why the Lord said that we are rebelling, right? We're rebels. The Most High's laws. Okay? That's true. That's true, but think more so the definition. That's true, but think more so the definition. To go against the law, statutes, and commandments. Okay, that is true. Akwa, that is true. But I want a little bit. Okay, you guys are on it and think law. You guys are thinking law. Think law. To go against what? Who gives the law? Who makes laws? Right? Who makes laws? Anybody? Who makes laws? Go ahead. Want to give it a shot?
The president.
Okay, the young student, the Yalada, she said the president. So that's a good hit for anyone online. So she's on it. That may not be the right answer, right? It's almost there, but to go against the Most High. Okay, I see some more answers. Let me scroll up a little. I think I see some more answers. I think you guys are on it. To intentionally go against authority. Okay, to go against the authority. Okay, to go against the Most High. Not quite, but who is the Most High to us? And it would be the authority. So you guys are correct. To go against the authority. But this is what I want. This is the word that I was looking for. This is something that the Lord, even though you guys are correct, a ruler could be an authority figure. The Most High is our authority. Christ is our authority. He is someone over us. The Most High is over Israel, right? Christ is the King of Israel, right? So you guys are correct. But what does a king run? What is a king in charge of? Think of that word. And the little princess gave a good hint. The little princess said president. So give me the word I'm looking for. To go against bring me home, everybody. I know you guys can bring me home after this. Bring me home. And that's the exact definition of rebellious. You can understand how the land and the army, not quite. Try one more time, Ayah. Not quite. The kingdom. Okay. Salaki, that's okay. I don't want to really give it to you. Okay, but I don't want to give it to y'all, but not the kingdom. What is, there's a certain structure. Thank you, Akwa. The government. If you answered the government, that's the word I'm looking for. That's the exact definition of rebellious. To go against a ruler or a government. That's why the Lord used the word rebellious. Because you are going against government. If you do not keep God's laws, if you don't keep his statutes, if you don't keep his commandments, you are going against the very government that the Lord set up. That authority, which is our power, that authority, which is Christ, right? Christ is going to form a government. The Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge is the government body of so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That's literally what ISUPK stands for, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. And within this body, we are the government body that the Lord set up. Because we are giving the law. We are teaching so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to keep law, to keep statutes, to keep commandments. Every race and every nation of people have some form of government, but blacks. Every race of people on the earth have a government, but blacks, but Latinos, but Native Americans. We are stuck in believing that America's government is our government because we joined ourselves to their race. We joined ourselves to their traditions. We joined ourselves to their beliefs. We joined ourselves to their religions. We joined ourselves to their government. We joined ourselves to their nation and their practices and their customs. We joined ourselves to their militaries, their armies, their navies, their marines, their air forces. And now we are stuck believing, because we joined with them, now we are stuck believing that that's our government. But that is not the government that the Lord set up for you. America's government isn't the government that the Lord set up for so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That's why the Lord said we are a rebellious people. Let's go back to Isaiah chapter 30, verse 1. I'm going to start from the top. Woe! Woe meaning destruction. Woe is old Quaker English to meaning to destroy, meaning destruction. All right, I'm going to just give that to you guys for time's sake. So woe meaning to destroy, destruction. So the Lord is saying destruction to you. So woe to the rebellious children, meaning destruction to the rebellious children. Why? Because you are going against the government. When you go against any government, you are considered to be a what? For time's sake, I'll tell you. You are considered to be a traitor. You are considered to be committing treason, right? If you are any nation, every race and every nation has their own government. And if you even decide to go against their government, what type of penalty would you be facing? Now I want you guys to answer that. If you go against the government, it doesn't matter what government it is, if you go against any government that you are a part of, what type of punishment are you facing? Does anybody know? You can go ahead, Princess, if you want to try. Go ahead, Princess.
Prison.
Say it again.
Prison.
Okay, yes, prison, that is true. But it's a little more than that. You want to give it a shot, Yalada? No sweat. Go ahead.
Prison.
Okay, not quite, but that's very close. All right. So, okay, right. The opt-out is correct. Death. You are going. Yes. If you go against any government, you are facing death. That is a death penalty. You are either getting the chair. If back in the day it would be the electric chair. Back in the day you'd be hung from a tree. You would be hung. You would be taken to the gallows, off with your head, whatever the case may be. If you decide to go against your authority or go against your government body, you are facing a death penalty. So we should not be shocked when we eat pork. And that is the law that our government body set up. The Lord set up our government. And our government says, our laws within our government that the Lord set up said not to eat pork, not to eat shrimp, not to eat lobster, not to be a homosexual, not to be a lesbian, not to commit fornication, not to steal, not to murder, right? These are different laws in the Bible. We should not expect anything less than death because we are literally going against our government. So we shouldn't be surprised when we're dying from high blood pressure and we're dying from cancers and lung cancer and dying from strokes and dying from disease and dying from heart attacks. We shouldn't be surprised about the death that's happening at a high rate in the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American community, because the penalty going against a government is death. Even the white man's government that's set up, if you go against his, you could be facing a death penalty. Go against the East Indian government, that can be a death penalty. Go against the Chinese government, you could actually get a death penalty. The Japanese government, you could be facing a death penalty. Russians, you could be facing a death penalty. There was a man, I forgot his name. He put all the secrets out of America, and he ran to Russia. I forgot that devil's name, but America wanted his head. America wanted him. I think it was Snowden. I think that's his name, Snowden. All right, his name was Snowden, and he gave all of the government secrets away of America. America wanted him damn near dead. They wanted him in shackles and chains, and they wanted to punish him. They wanted to damn near give that man the death penalty just for giving out secrets. That's going against your government. These are just examples of going against the government. There's a reason why the Lord said rebellious. He used that word rebellious because it comes from the word rebel, which literally means to go against government, to go against a ruler, your authority, your power. That's literally the definition to rebel. So in order to be rebellious, which is an adjective, that's what you're doing. You're rebelling. That's the verb. That's the action that you're doing. So in America, in Israel, if you were rebellious, you were eating pork. If you were rebellious, you were eating shrimp and lobster. What's today's topic? Memorial Day. Joining America's military. If you were joining another nation's and oppressor's military, you were rebellious. If you chose to fight for Rome, you were rebellious. If you chose to fight for Greece, you were rebellious. If you chose to fight for the Persians, you were rebellious. If you chose to fight for the Ethiopians, you were rebellious. If you chose to fight for the Egyptians, you were rebellious. If you chose to make a covenant and an oath with the military, with the government of your oppressor, like the Egyptians and the Ethiopians and the Persians and the Greeks and the Romans, well, guess what? Like America, right? Like Russia, like the UK. If you openly wanted to make an oath in a covenant, which is an agreement with the nation of another race, the nation of your oppressor, you would be considered to be rebellious. You would be rebellious by definition. According to the Lord, you are rebellious. So it says, woe to the rebellious children, meaning destruction to the rebellious children. We should understand the reason why the death toll is so high in the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American community, because we are rebellious. We are going against America's government. Salakia, we are going against the Most High's government. Salakia, not America's government. Go against America's government by separating from them. All right, that's how you go against America's government, by separating from America's government. But we'll get there. But that's how you are rebellious, when you go against the Most High's government. All right. Woe to rebellious children, saith the Most High. Once again, these are not my words. These are the words of the Lord. I'm just preaching the officer of 1,000 Rashomah, explaining and giving you more detail on what the Lord is trying to say and what he's literally saying. I'm not saying anything that the Lord isn't saying already. These are the words of the Lord. The Lord used certain words and punctuation and things like that to make us understand what in the hell he's talking about and what he wants to tell us. You're not going to get this in the Christian church. The Christian church is rebellious. The Catholic Church is rebellious. If you're a Protestant, Lutheran, Baptist, Methodist, Pentecostal, 7 Days Adventist, you are rebellious. If you are a Muslim and you follow Islam, if you are a 5%er, you are rebellious. If you practice Judaism and Buddhism and all these other type of religions on the earth that were started by other races and nations of people outside of the God of Israel and outside of the nation of Israel, you are rebellious. You would be considered and classified as rebellious. But not, that take counsel, but not of me. So the Lord says that take counsel, but not of me. Right? Woe to the rebellious children, so that saith the Lord, that take counsel. Does anybody know what it means to take counsel? Does anybody know what it means to take counsel? Quickly, does anybody know what it means to take counsel? What's counsel? Anybody know the different definitions of counsel? Anybody? Anybody in class and online? Anybody? What does it mean to take counsel? What is counsel? Okay, advice. Okay. Okay, anything else? So, like, anybody else want to give it a shot? What does it mean to take counsel? Advice. Right. Advice. Okay. So, the Aquaf is pretty correct. She's pretty much spot on. Alright? So, to take counsel meaning to take advice. Right, to get answers or instructions from. What type of advice do blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans get? What type of instructions and answers do so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans get? Right? What type of counsels do we take in the so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American community? I want to hear the main two counsels and advice that we get when it comes to fixing the black, Hispanic, and Native American community. I only want to hear two solid good ones. And I want you to focus on the topic. I want you to think what the hell we're talking about today in order to answer this correctly. There's only two correct answers in this case. Of course, there's other answers as well. But what type of advice do we get about fixing the black, Hispanic, and Native American community? What type of advice do we get in order to fix our life, to fix our lives? I'm trying to lead you on to the different. Okay, abortion, yes, but that's not. I want you to. Abortion is not thinking about the topic, though. That's correct. That is the type of advice that we get. That is the type of counsel that we get. But let's focus on the topic. Join the Navy. That's one. So that's one answer. Joining America's military is one form of counsel that the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans get. So we can fix our community. So we can stop suffering in our ghettos, in our hoods. So we can stop. So we can make a change. So we can fix ourselves. One advice is to, how about you join America's military? How about you go enlist in America's Navy? How about you go join the Marines? How about you go join the Air Force or the Coast Guard? Do a good service for your country, and your country will do a good service for you. This is the type of advice that we get in the black, Hispanic, and Native American community in order to fix ourselves. Now the Aquaf is on a roll. The second great answer is to vote. I may have gave it away in my, but to vote. That's another counsel that the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans get when it comes to fixing the black, Hispanic, and Native American community. Go and vote. If you vote for this man, he's going to do great changes in the black, Hispanic, and Native American community. He's going to raise, he's going to do budget cuts. He's going to lower taxes, and he's going to raise minimum wage. He's going to give more food stamps. He's going to give more WIC. He's going to give more whatever the hell the case may be. We're going to make more government assistance programs. If you vote for this man, he's going to do great for the black community. And then you see now, of course, the very person that you see that this man is giving advice to you for, you see this very same man that's running for president talking about, well, this is what I'm going to do for the black community, because he, quote unquote, wants the black vote. He wants the support of black people. He wants the support of the Native American people. He wants the support from the Latino people. So he starts speaking on the situations and the conditions of so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. Now, of course, we're going to go in of how evil that really is, of some devil and some oppressor speaking on the conditions of so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, as if he has nothing to do with why we're suffering. He's the very reason why we're voting for change. Because he made the change in our community. At one point in time, we didn't have crack in our community, but our oppressor made that change. But now, in order to change that back to normal, we have to vote the very same person that did it. Now, what sense does that make? What sense does that make? I'm going to go vote for the very man to, listen, so I'm going to go vote for the very same man to take the crack out of my community that pushed it in. I don't get it. That sounds crazy to me, right? Does anybody hear me? Does that sound crazy to you as well? Is that what I'm going to do? This is what the Lord is saying. The Lord is saying that take counsel, but not of me. Because the Lord would have never told you. The Lord would have never told so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. The Lord would have never told us to join America's Navy, to join America's Army, to join America's Marine Corps, to join America's Air Force, to join America's National Guard, to join America's Air Force, to join America's Space Force. The Lord would have never told us to do these things. The Lord never would have told you to stand in line for hours on end to vote for one single man that never made a change ever since the past 60 to 70 years now. We've been voting since 1968. Does everybody understand that? We've been voting since the 60s. I want to say it was 67, so like it's 67 or 68. It was around that time. We finally got the right to vote. We've always, quote unquote, was able to vote, but there were Jim Crow laws and different restrictions that were stopping black people from voting, or Latinos or Native Americans. All right? If you want to go into detail. All right? So, we've been voting since the 60s. We're now in 2021. That's a good 50 to 60 years now, right? Anyone that was born in like 64, 65, they're pushing 60 now. They're pushing like 54, 55, right? That's around their age. If you're, listen, Salakia, if you were born 1970, you're 51 right now, right? We've been voting for the past 50-something years now, close to 60-something years. What change has really happened? Has our conditions gotten better in our community? That's because the Lord never told us. The Lord never gave us the counsel. The Lord never gave us the counsel to join America's military, or join America's government, or to vote for America's presidents, and vote for America's senators, and vote for America's council members. The Lord never gave us that counsel. Because the Lord literally said, the Most High is saying right now, that take counsel, but not of me. I mean, I never said to join America's Navy, but you're doing it. I never told you to join America's government, but you're doing it. I never told you to vote, but you're doing it. This counsel was not of me. And that cover with a covering. Right? Now, what is that covering that the Lord is talking about? Does anybody know? Well, first I'm going to finish it out. But not of my spirit. So it says, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit. What is that covering that the Lord may be talking about? Does anybody know? What's that covering? Anybody want to take a shot at it? When you cover yourself, right? You're covering yourself with either clothes, blankets, right? What is that covering? Right. Okay, protection. Anybody else? It says, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit. So what is that covering? It says it said protection. Anybody else? That's a solid answer, Akwaf. Protection. That's a solid answer, Akwaf. Anybody else? What is that cover? That cover with a covering. When you cover yourself, right? That's a solid answer, by the way. But I'm going to explain in detail. And it says, but not of my spirit. When you cover yourself, what are you doing when you cover yourself? Now, don't think protection yet. All right? But that's a solid answer, by the way. You Akwafian? That's the vibe. Okay. Around your body. Okay. So you cover your body, right? You're covering your body. You're covering your body. What do you usually cover yourself with?
Blanket.
Right. You cover yourself with blankets and clothes, things like that. So anyone online, what do you cover yourself with? Anybody want to give it a shot? What are you covering yourself with? Anybody? You're covering yourself with, right, clothes. Clothes, right? What else?
Blankets.
What else? Jewelry, hats, right? You're covering yourself, right? So you're covering yourself with all these things, right? Clothes, right? You are covering yourself. Now it says a cover. It says, Salaki, but not of me. And that cover with a covering. That cover, right? That cover is talking about the traditions and the customs, right? The conditions, the customs and the traditions and the practices of another race and nation of people. That cover, it says, and that cover with a covering. That protection that you guys were saying, which is a solid answer, that comes with a certain cover. In order for you to be protected by what you're doing, it comes with a certain cover. It comes with eating pork, shrimp, and lobster. It comes with being a whore. It comes with being a homosexual. It comes with being a lesbian. It comes with being a pedophile. It comes with being a supporter and an ally of the LGBTQI plus community, right? It comes with being a murderer. It comes with being an abortionist. It says a cover with a covering. This protection comes with something. It comes with something. It comes with traditions. It comes with customs. It comes with practices, right? It comes with it. It comes with certain covenants made and oaths and agreements made. It says, but not of my spirit. Meaning this covering is not of me. It's not of the Lord. It's not of the Most High. So whatever you're doing, whatever counsel you're taking, whatever advice that you're taking, whoever you're going to, it does not have my spirit. America doesn't have the spirit of the Lord, but even though they say in God we trust. America doesn't have the spirit of the Lord, even though they say we're a nation under God. America doesn't have the spirit of the Lord, even though one of the number one religions in America, or one of the top tier religions in America, is to be a Christian that deals with God. Even though the Lord is saying it's not of my spirit. America doesn't have the spirit of the Lord, and it never will. Let's go ahead. That they may add sin to sin. So what does it mean to add sin to sin? Does anybody know what it means to add sin to sin? Anybody want to give it a shot? What does it mean to add sin to sin? Anybody? What does it mean to add sin to sin? Anybody want to give it a shot? What does it mean to add sin to sin? Well, what is a sin, first off? A sin is the transgression of the law, right? A sin is literally the breaking of the law. Right? That's exactly what a sin is. So what does it mean as sin to sin? Okay. For time's sake. Okay, for time's sake, I'll give you the answer because I want to continue going through the lesson. Okay, breaking multiple laws adds sin to sin. The Lord is really saying you're already a sinner, right? You're already eating pork, right? You're already eating shrimp. You're already eating lobster. You're already a homosexual. You're already a lesbian, right? You're already some abortionist, some murderer. You're already a thief, right? Then you go ahead and join America's military. Now you're just completely rebellious, right? Now you're just top tier, goddamn rebellious, right? You're already a homosexual, but now you are a Navy sailor homosexual, right? You're already a lesbian, but now you're a Marine Corps lesbian. Is that understanding? You're adding sin to sin. So first you're a Christian, and then you're a lesbian, and now you're a Christian lesbian Air Force pilot. That's what it means you add sin to sin. You're already sinning. You're already eating pork. But now you're an officer in the Navy. Now you're some lieutenant in the Navy. You're some colonel in America's Army. You're adding sin to sin. You're some sergeant or some corporal in the Army or the Marine Corps, right? But you're already a homosexual. You're already some abortionist. You're already some thief. You're already some some pork loving Negro that can't stop eating pork, right? You're already that. But now you want to go ahead and join America's military. Right. Christian, lesbian, abortionist, adultery, pastor, and eat. Right. You're all of that. That's adding sin to sin. Right? Like, come on now. And then now you want to put the cherry on top. I'm also a Navy sailor. I'm also a Marine Corps. I'm also a Marine. I'm also an airman in the Air Force. Right? I'm some soldier in the Army. Yeah, add sin to sin. Right? Verse 2. That walk to go down into Egypt. The Lord says that walk to go down into Egypt. Anybody know what Egypt is spiritually? What's Egypt spiritually? What's spiritual Egypt today? Who and what is spiritual Egypt today? Right, and voted for Biden. That's correct, sis. Who is spiritual Egypt today? What is spiritual Egypt? It says walk into Egypt. Like, this is what we do, man. This is what we do. This is Memorial Day. Right now, you have so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? Joining America's military and going hardcore 100% on Memorial Day for fallen soldiers that chose to serve their government. That's what you have today. So-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans going 100% all Joe, right? All 10 toes down on Memorial Day for the fallen soldiers in America. That walk to go down into Egypt. If you don't know, America is spiritual Egypt. Alright? America is spiritual Egypt. That's why when you go into Washington, D.C., right? America is spiritual Egypt. That's why you can walk into D.C. and you can see a obelisk. They call it the Washington Monument, but that is an obelisk that literally comes from Egypt, which is supposed to signify a penis, a man's genital area, right? That's what the obelisk is about. That's what that Washington Monument is. That's what it is. That's what it's about, right? That's what that Washington Monument is, right? Now how homo is that? How LGBT is that? How I am a ally and a supporter of the LGBTIA plus is that? How crazy is that? That literally the Washington Monument is a man's genital area, and they call it the Washington Monument. But that comes from Egypt, because Egypt was all about homosexuality. That's why America is all about homosexuality. That's why you can find the pyramid. It was known that Israelites would build pyramids. That's why Egypt had so many pyramids, because the Israelites, the Cubans, the Mexicans, the Puerto Ricans, the Creeks, the Muskegee, the Apache, the Comanche, the Blackfoot, the Cherokee, the Mohawks, the Mohegans, the Negroes in America, the Trinidadians, the people from Tobago, the Virgin Islands, etc., etc. We were known to build pyramids in Egypt because we were with the Israelites, right? That's why you can find the pyramid on America's dollar, right? With the eye of Osiris, that Egyptian eye, which is I think it's Osiris's eye. That's why America is spiritual Egypt. That's why America literally sets its government based off of the customs and traditions of Egypt. The Babylonians did it. The Persians did it somewhat. The Greeks did it. The Romans did it. Right? They set themselves after the empire of Egypt. Alright? So the Lord says they walk to go down into Egypt. Meaning we are literally willingly walking to go to America, willingly. We are willingly to go and join America's military. We are willingly going to join America's Navy, Air Force, Marines, Marine Corps. The Lord never set that up. The Lord never wanted us to be a part of America's government, America's military, the way that we are now. The Lord never intended life to be that way for so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. But we're doing it. And we're doing it now. So we're willingly walking into Egypt. So lucky. That walk to go down into Egypt and have not asked at my mouth. Like we didn't have permission from the Lord. This wasn't the way of the Lord to go into Egypt, our oppressor, to go to America, our oppressor. That wasn't of the Lord. That wasn't of God to go and join America's Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Army. That wasn't of the Lord. We were never given permission. We were never given the authority to say, you know what? You go ahead and be a sailor. You go ahead and be a corporal. You go ahead and be a soldier in the army, in America's army. You go ahead and do that. You go ahead and be some airman in the Air Force. You go ahead and be some astronaut fighting aliens in America's new Space Force under America's Air Force Department, whatever the case may be. We were never given that type of permission. We were never given that order from the Lord. Can you not give me the order that the Lord did tell us though? I'm going to continue reading. But what did the Lord say to us though? That's something we have to know. It won't of the Lord's mouth to say join the Navy. But what did the Lord did say about us when it comes to America? To strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh. It says to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh. Now here we go. Now here's the point right here. It says to strengthen themselves. What does it mean to strengthen yourself? Anybody online? What does it mean to strengthen yourself? Anybody know? What does it mean to strengthen yourself? Anybody know? How do you strengthen yourself? Arm yourself with armor of the Most High. Okay. That is how you are supposed to strengthen yourself. But how do you strengthen? What does it mean to strengthen yourself? What does it mean to strengthen yourself? To make yourself what? It's in the word. To make yourself what? If you have to strengthen yourself, then that means you are weak, and now you're trying to be what? What does it mean to strengthen yourself? We're breaking it down. To be right, to make yourself strong. Right, strong. So the Lord says to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh. So we're trying to make ourselves strong by using Pharaoh. In the strength of Pharaoh. What was Pharaoh's strength? What made Pharaoh so strong? Right? This is the question we should ask. What makes Pharaoh so strong? By sticking to his culture. By sticking to their traditions. That's what made them strong. They didn't give up homosexuality. They didn't give up lesbianism. They didn't give up shaving their heads. They didn't give up having sex with other men, with men. They didn't give up having sex with women, with women. They didn't give up having sex with a woman on her periods, on her menstrual cycle. They didn't give up killing babies. You guys know Egypt were killing babies, right? That's what made Egypt strong. By making sure there was a pharaoh. That's what made Egypt so strong. So that was Egypt's strength. Was holding on to their culture and their traditions that they practice, serving other gods. That's the strength of Pharaoh. So to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, that strength of Pharaoh is the customs and the practices and the traditions of Egypt. That's their strength. So now, what's the strength of America? Voting. Right. America's Army. America's Navy. America's Marine Corps. America's Air Force. So like it, what's the strength of America? Joining the strength of America. Joining America's Army, Navy, Marines, and Air Force, and National Guard, and Coast Guard. Right? It says to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh. So we're using the customs and the traditions and the practices of Egypt to make ourselves strong. Because we are what? If we're trying to make ourselves strong, then we are what at the moment? What are we? What are we? If we are not strong, then what are we? We're trying to strengthen ourselves. Right. We are weak. Not rebellious, but we are weak. Anybody else? We are weak. If we are not strong, then we are weak. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we are weak right now. We are weak. We are in oppression. We are being oppressed. We are involved in oppression right now. We are in poverty. We are poor. We literally live in the most harsh, dangerous conditions than any other nation of people in America. Honestly, we're damn near and close to living in the most worst conditions than any other nation and race of people on this earth. And the reason why I say that is because there are other countries that are poor, but their entire country is poor. But to be poor in one of the richest countries, now that's weak. Now that's tough. Now that's tough. To be poor and live in poverty in an already impoverished country and already in a poor country is, well, it's a no-brainer. Well, the country's poor. Well, of course, its citizens are going to be poor. Yeah. But America is rich. America is very wealthy, but we are poor. Think about that. Right now, we are weak. So-called blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, we are weak right now. We're in poverty. We're poor. We're being murdered. We're being harassed. We're being terrorized. We're being thrown in prison and giving a sentence to 20 to life without parole. We're being separated from our families. We're being thrown in dog cages at the borders. We're being separated from our mothers. We're being separated from our fathers and our mothers and our uncles and our aunties and our abuelas and our abuelos. We're being separated from our family by ICE agents. We're being separated by our families by DIFUS and social services. We're being separated from our families and being thrown in jail or being thrown in some damn detention center or being thrown in some damn dog cages. We are suffering in America. We are weak right now in America. As so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, we are weak. And we are trying to make ourselves strong. Well, guess what? When you take counsel from another nation and you're weak, right? When you're taking counsel and advice from people when you are weak, the purpose of that advice is to try to make you what? Strong. So joining America's military is a no-brainer. I'm already poor. I'm already in poverty. I'm already in the harshest and most dangerous conditions. What's the worst can happen? Huh? What harm can it do of me joining America's military? What's the harm in serving another race and nation of people? What's the harm in serving another government that's not your own? What harm is it? What harm is it? Right now we are weak. We were also weak in slavery, right? We were also weak in slavery. During the Revolutionary War, so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans in America, we were very weak. We were poor. We were in poverty, right? We were being harassed and terrorized in slavery, right? And during the time of the Revolutionary War. But what counsel and what advice did we get to make ourselves strong during the Revolutionary War? Can anybody answer that? If you can answer this correctly, you can have a breakthrough. You'll have a breakthrough. What type of counsel were we given during the time of the Revolutionary War to make ourselves strong? Anybody know? We were weak during the Revolutionary War, right? The Revolutionary War was in the 1700s, during the time of slavery. The Revolutionary War was about America separating themselves from the British and making themselves their own country. And during that time, in the colonies, at the time it was called the colonies, we were slaves. We were weak. We were poor. We were in poverty. We were dying. We were being murdered. Our babies were being killed, right? We were being sold. We were being terrorized by the slave patrol. Dogs were being sicked on us, right? Does that sound familiar? Does that sound like something that was happening in the 60s too? That don't sound like, I just explained slavery, but it sounded like something that was happening in the 60s. It sounded like something that was also happening in 2021. Dogs still get sicked on Negroes in 2021. We are still being harassed by slave patrol, which is your police department, in 2021. We're still being murdered and terrorized in 2021. Our babies are still being killed, but this time we're doing it, right, in 2021. Go fight for your soap right. Go fight for your freedom. What was that freedom? Now, you guys are correct. Fight for your freedom. What were you trying to free yourself from? Right, fight What now? Now, if you can answer this next one, you will truly have a breakthrough. What were you trying to free yourself from? If you are fighting for your freedom during the Revolutionary War, if you are fighting for your freedom in 1812, if you are fighting for your freedom in the Civil War, what were you trying to be free from? And don't say slavery. That's too basic. I'm not going to allow you guys to say slavery. I don't want you guys to say slavery. What were we trying to free ourselves from? And don't say slavery. I bet not see an answer slavery. Do not say slavery. Salaki, don't even say oppression. Alright, I want you to specify on the oppression though. Oppression and slavery, same thing. But specify, Akwa. You're not wrong. Alright, you're not wrong. That was smart though. I won't say slavery, but I'm going to say oppression. It's the same thing almost. Alright, it's the same thing. In slavery, we're being oppressed. That's one. The Akwa said poverty. Right? What else? What were we trying to free ourselves from during the Revolutionary War? What were we trying to free ourselves from in the War of 1812? What were we trying to free ourselves from in the Civil War? The reason why I told you guys not to say slavery, so you guys can understand how much the white man is the devil that the Bible speaks of to this goddamn day. That's why I don't want you to say slavery. That's why I don't want you to say oppression. Because I want you guys to understand that the white man is still the goddamn devil in 2021. And the Aqua said it, poverty. Give me another. What were we trying to free ourselves from during the war, during the Revolutionary War, when we fought for our freedom? To fight for your freedom is to free yourself, right? So what were we trying to free ourselves from during the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812 and the Civil War? From poverty. Go ahead. Okay, racism. Okay. Alright. Racism is more so I'll accept it. I'll accept it. Racism. I'll accept racism. That's literally the government power. Now, I'll accept that to free ourselves from racism, even though it never did. Just like poverty. But it never did. When we did it, we were still in poverty. We still had to go under the authority of a nation of people that completely hated us and made laws against us. That's racism. Being targeted to be killed. Right, to be lynched. Right? To get the dog sicked on you. These are all good answers. You guys can still give me answers. But I'm going to go ahead and break it to you. We were trying to free ourselves during the time of the Revolutionary War, during the time of the War of 1812, during the time of the war of the Civil War, not segregation, not yet. Not yet. Don't say segregation yet. And I may not even touch segregation. This is during the time of the Revolution. There was no such thing as integration and segregation. We were already goddamn separate. We were slaves. There was no segregation. We were just slaves. We were property. You didn't have the right to even talk about having your own community to yourself. So not so much segregation, we were fighting an independent from the British. That's what America was fighting for. I'm talking about for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. To have our own culture, government, our own land. Okay, we were trying to free ourselves. Oh, okay. Okay, yes. Okay, Salaki. Yes, we were trying to free ourselves so we can have our own culture again and to maybe possibly have our own land. Yes. But, okay, that is true. But let's talk about what we're trying to free ourselves from. Why were we trying to free ourselves? The real question is why were we trying to really free ourselves? It's because we didn't have our own culture, right? because we didn't have our own government and our own land. That's how you want to answer the question. Is what we didn't have. That's why we fought for freedom. It's because we didn't have it. So we could have our own culture, our government, our own land. So the Akwaf is absolutely and perfectly correct. Akwaf Khayaya, absolutely correct. Alright? But not so much for the independent from the British. That's what America was fighting for. That was their freedom. They were tired of being oppressed by the British. They were tired of it. Right? So they separated themselves from the British. But we're not going to get there yet. So to answer your question, we were trying to fight our freedom. Because we were trying to be free from poverty. Free ourselves from being poor. To free ourselves from being murdered. To free ourselves from being lynched. To free from ourselves from being incarcerated. So like you're not incarcerated. To free ourselves from being dogs sicked on nuts. To free from ourselves from being harassed and terrorized from slave patrol. We were trying to fight for our freedom so we could finally be free from that. Well, guess what? During World War I and during World War II and during the Cold War and during the Vietnam War, during Desert Storm, during Operation Inherent Resolve, during any enlistment from any Black, Hispanic, and Native American, we were trying to fight for our freedom. We've been doing it since the beginning. Because we're trying to be free from, think about it, what are we trying to be free from now in 2021? I want you guys to answer this. I'm going to continue reading. This is how we are trying to strengthen ourselves. No sweat up. This is what we're trying to do. Right? This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to free ourselves. In the 60s to 2021, what were we trying to free ourselves from by joining America's military? Anybody? To this day, we are trying to fight for our freedom. I'm going to go ahead and give it to you guys for time's sake, because I want to get into it. Right? We've been trying to fight for our freedom so we can be free from what? So we can be free from being murdered. We are believed that as long as I'm wearing a uniform, I'm not going to be treated like a nigger. I'm not going to be treated like some Negro, or some Negro, or some wetback or some spit. Maybe if I wear a uniform, if I wear America's uniform, if I wear the Navy's uniform, if I wear the Marines' uniform, if I wear the Army's uniform, if I wear the Marines' Air Force uniform, just maybe I won't get murdered like them other Negroes. Maybe I won't get thrown in jail and thrown in prison and get life without parole like them other Negroes. Just maybe if I wear my uniform. Just maybe no dogs will get sick on me. Just maybe I wouldn't get harassed and terrorized by slave patrol and America's police department. Only if I wear their uniform. To this day, we're fighting for our freedom. Right? We're still fighting for our freedom. But here's the hardcore reality. Right? Right? Here's the hardcore reality of it. Anybody know? What was that brother's name? There was a brother. It was in Windsor. I believe it was in Windsor, Virginia. And his name was Caron Nazario. Anybody know? Does anybody remember Caron? Right, to fit with our oppressors. Correct. Does anybody remember Corone Nazario in Windsor, Virginia? Does anybody remember that story?
Whoa, it actually is fun.
Does anybody remember that story? Does anybody know what Corone Nazario was? Anybody know?
I think I'm going to get.
Anybody? Con, does anybody know?
It's the beginning. You want to? That's not that.
Con, okay, Con.
No, we got to pick the truck back. I'm going to pick the truck back. I'm crazy. Huh? Crazy. We got to pick the truck back.
Okay, Corone Nazario. He was I believe he was, right, was it the guy that got pulled over by the police in uniform recently? That is correct. That is correct. He was an officer. He was a lieutenant, right? He was an officer in the army, in America's army. He was a lieutenant, an officer in America's army. To be an officer in America's army is a very big thing. To be an officer in any branch is a very big thing. That means you have a degree, you went to school, you put in a lot of work, especially if you're a lieutenant. You did a pretty good damn job to make lieutenants. You did something of yourself according to America's standards, right? To be an officer in America's military. And Corone Nazario, he was a Latino brother, right? And he was treated, this man was treated like any other black, Hispanic, and Native American would have been treated during the times of slavery and in the 60s, during the times of civil rights. He was pepper sprayed and taken to the ground and was treated with no dignity. He was not treated like a man at all. If you watch the video, he started to cry. And the reason why he started crying, he was like, this isn't right, man, this isn't right. Because he was completely emasculated at that point. His absolute manhood was taken from him that day. There have been stories like this over and over again. We think joining America's military and joining America's government is going to change our condition. Maybe by joining America's military and get paid, I can afford a Dodge Charger and I can afford an apartment of my own and go live in the suburbs and not worry about being a drug addict and not worry about being a drug dealer and worry about the police department harassing me and terrorizing me. Just maybe if I throw on a uniform, this will change. Do you know how many drug addicts get thrown out of America's military? Do you know how many blacks, Hispanics, and Latinos go back home on leave as a sailor, as a soldier, as an airman, as a marine, and get high and get thrown out the military? It doesn't change you at all. America's military and America's government does not change the conditions of black people. There are drug dealers in America's military, and they are black, Hispanic, and Native American. No thanks to America's government pushing cocaine and crack and heroin into our communities. Does everybody understand? It doesn't change anything, man. Wearing that uniform, joining America's military, doesn't change anything. It doesn't make us free from the coke and the crack and the heroin. It doesn't free us from slave patrol brutality, from police department and police brutality. We're still being thrown out of our vehicles, being pepper sprayed, and completely emasculated. Ask Christopher Dower. Ask Christopher Donner. Or that's like Donner. Man. Ask Walter Scott. And Damian, and it's like in Damian Daniels. Ask them what it means to truly serve America's military. These were brothers that were murdered by America's police department. And they wore a uniform. And they served America's military. What about those fallen soldiers on Memorial Day? What about Christopher Donner, man? What about Walter Scott? What about Damian Daniels? What about Corona Mazario? What about that for Memorial Day? What about that? To this day, we fight for our freedom. To this day, we fight for our freedom by joining America's military. Because we're trying to be free from our poverty. We're trying to be free from our condition. We fought in the revolution because we were tired of our condition of poverty and poor and being murdered and separated from our families. We did it in the revolution. We fought in the war of 1812. God damn it, they say the Civil War was about slavery. Even though it's not. Just on a sidebar, the Civil War was never about abolishing slavery. Moving on. Moving on. We fought for our freedom. Just like we're fighting to be free from the conditions that we're in now. From being drug addicts and drug dealers. By being murdered on the block. Being murdered on the street. By some Pyru. By some blood or some Crip. Or by some gangster disciple. Because of gang violence and black on black crime. And then we have our oppressor coming into our neighborhoods and also murdering us. It's a war on two fronts, man. That's what's going on. This is what we're trying to be free from. And we truly believe by getting that counsel and by getting that advice that by joining America's military, that's what's going to change it. That's what's going to make the difference. This is how we strengthen ourselves. This is what it means when the Lord says, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh. We choose to join America's government and join America's Army, Navy, Marines, and Air Force. And going to vote. We do all these things. This is how we try to make ourselves strong because we are weak. When you are trying to strengthen yourself, you're trying to make yourself strong because you are weak. You don't go to the gym because you're strong. You go to the gym because you think you're weak and you want to get what? Stronger. Right? That's why you go to the gym. So you can maintain your strength and so you don't become weak. Right? That's the purpose of strengthening yourself. You're continually doing it. There's an action. You're doing it. You're doing something over and over and over again. You don't become strong just by lifting up one weight. You become strong because you're lifting weights continually. Everybody understand? Ka Allah. Moving on. Alright, you can still answer, but I'm still going to continue. And to trust in the shadow. And to trust in the shadow of Egypt. That shadow is talking about that protection of Egypt. That shadow. When you have a shadow, right? That shadow, it isn't just, okay, a shadow isn't just a reflection of the sun. Of you walking down the street and you look, oh look, it's my shadow. A shadow can be cast by anything. A shadow can be casted by a building. Yes, it still deals with the sun. That's not what I'm talking about. But it's not just your shadow alone. It could be a building shadow. That building shadow is protecting you from the sun. That tree's shadow is protecting you from the heat from the sun. You're in the shade. You're in the shadow. That shadow is that protection. And the Lord said, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. We trust by joining America's military that we're no longer going to have to suffer from police brutality. Even though Cameron Nazario, that was a lieutenant in America's army, suffered from police brutality. We all thought that if we wore that same uniform, I wouldn't be treated like the rest of these niggas. I wouldn't have been treated like the rest of these Negroes, Salakia. I wouldn't be treated like the rest of these Puerto Ricans and these Cubans and these El Salvadorians and these Mexicans and Panamanians. Do you know how many Mexicans are in America's military? Thousands. You know how many Puerto Ricans are in America's military? Thousands. Cubans? Thousands. El Salvadorians? Hundreds. Colombians? Hundreds. Cubans? Thousands. You understand? Hundreds and thousands of our brothers, blacks, Hispanics, and Americans, are in America's military. And we serve their government willingly, thinking that we are going to be free from the conditions that we live in. It will change our poverty. It will change us from being poor. It will change us from being harassed and terrorized. It will change us from dealing with drug addictions and drug dealers and gang violence. You would think that it would change it. But it never did. And guess what? It never will. Because it never has. Joining America's military, joining America's government has never changed the conditions of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. It may have changed your personal condition, right? It may have done that. It doesn't always do that, but it may have done that. But is the Lord dealing with individuals? Does America deal individually? Does the President of America say, as long as I'm good, we good? Does America Army say, as long as I'm good, we good? Does American Navy say, as long as I'm good, we good? Does American Marine and Air Force say, as long as I'm good, we good? Or do they talk about the American people? And as long as the American people are good, then we're good. We have to realize we have to stop being individuals. And that's something the Christian church teaches us, man. We have to stop thinking that we're goddamn individuals. That's Satan right there. That is so evil to think that you are an individual and you're just by your goddamn self. And it's just all about you. That is so goddamn evil when you think about it. Very, very evil, man. Thinking about it. You're not by yourself. What are you talking about, man? As long as I'm good, we good. Okay, you good. I'm still suffering. I'm still in poverty, I'm poor, but you good. You got thousands. You got millions. You got billions, but we good. No, that's not how it is. Every other nation and race of people understands it's never about individualism. It's about building a nation. It's about building their nation and protecting their nation and making sure their nation is good. Every race on this earth is like that, but so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. Because we believe America and being American is our nation and our race. Which it's not. And it never will be. Moving on. Let's get it. Moving on. Let's get the next scripture. Before we close it out, let's get Amos chapter 5, verse 21. Let's get Amos chapter 5, verse 21 before we close out right here. This is something we understand, man. This is something we got to understand. Amos chapter 5, verse 21. I hate. It says, I hate. Amos chapter 5, verse 21. I hate. Now this might be new to some, right? But something that to some this might be new, to others we already knew this. The Lord hates, man. These are the words of the Lord right here. It says, I hate. This is in the Bible. You can find this in the New Testament and the Old. We're in the Old right now, Salaki, but you can find this in the New and the Old. It says, I hate. The Lord hates, man. The Lord has the capability of hating, just like He has the capability of loving. And it says, I hate, I despise your feast days. Does anybody know what a feast day is? Anybody know what a feast day is? Let's see if anyone is in the spirit. I'll accept 2 answers in the spirit. Does anybody know what a feast day is? Give me an example of a feast day that the Lord would hate and despise. I'll accept 2 answers. Right. Well, you can say holidays, right? That's, yeah. I'll accept 2 answers in the spirit. 2 answers of feast days that the Lord hates. I'll only accept 2 answers, right? Thanksgiving is a feast day. Thanksgiving is a feast day. A holiday will be considered something like a feast day. Meaning you're cooking, you have dinner, you're having some form of celebration of something. Right? That's a feast day. Christmas and Thanksgiving. Okay. That's true. Xmas, right. These are feast days. I'll accept 2. I'll say it one more time. I'll accept 2 answers within the spirit. Right? Within the spirit that the Lord hates and despises. I'll accept 2 feast days as 2 solid answers and correct answers, right, that the Lord hates and despises. One is Memorial Day, get the Aquaf hand. And what's the second one? There's another solid one. Another solid one. Memorial Day and what else? Right, come on. Memorial Day and what else? That's of the spirit. Not Christmas. Not Labor Day. Labor Day was good. Right. The Agwaf, give her a hand. The 4th of July. That's within the spirit. They all deal with what? The military and freedom. Right. Independence Day. Right. The 4th of July. That's correct. Remember, the 2 key words we have to understand is joining and freedom. That's why I said there's only 2 answers, right, that I would consider to be correct within the spirit. And that's Memorial Day and Independence Day, which is the 4th of July. And it says, I despise your feast days. Like the Lord hates our feast days, man. And of course you got Christmas and Halloween and Thanksgiving and Valentine's Day and Easter and what else? Labor Day and what's that? St. Patrick's Day. Like these are other feast days that the Lord hates. But within the spirit, the Lord hates Memorial Day. And the Lord hates Independence Day. It has nothing to do with the Lord. While you're gonna go ahead and shoot off fireworks, right? And have a whole cookout and some barbecue, right? Veterans Day. Okay, Veterans Day. Okay, Veterans Day is a feast day. Right? Veterans Day is a feast. Alright? You can celebrate. Okay, there is a way to celebrate Veterans Day. It is a day to honor the soldiers that have served. Right? And some families do have dinners. Some go out to eat and get discounts and whatever the case may be. Alright? So if you ever served in America's military and you are able to get a veterans discount, that's not celebrating Veterans Day. Okay? It's not celebrating Veterans Day. It can be considered as a feast day, but it's not the top tier feast days that America celebrates. Veterans Day is more so, okay, like Labor Day is a day that people actually go out and cook out and have barbecues. Veterans Day is not that. You know, Veterans Day is not that. Veterans Day is just a day you can just eat anywhere for a discount. Alright? It can be considered as a feast day though. But you are not celebrating it if you have served in America's military and you can get a discount somewhere. That's not really serving America and serving that feast day. Alright? That's like telling a brother that served in America's military that comes from the truth, you can no longer go to the VA hospital, because that's serving America and things like that. That's not what it is. All right. Now, of course, I'm not telling any Akim or Agwafian to be like Happy Veterans Day and nothing like that. That's not what we do. All right. That's not UBK. All right. We talk about Veterans Day and how America treats Black, Hispanic, and Native American veterans. Everybody understands? Most High in Christ. I'm glad I thought about y'all. All right. I'm glad I thought about y'all. It's like it, Bawayana. Most High in Christ. I thought about Bawayana. I'm glad I thought about Bawayana. All right. So like, give the Aqua a hand, by the way. She tested my priesthood. I had to that's brotherhood right there. That's sisterhood right there. She's using Hebrew, right? She just helped me speak more Hebrew. All right, that's a sidebar right there. You know, so that's very tawab. That's real tawab. We want to get used to that. We want to start speaking the Lashon Kodash to each other more frequently. All right, no matter what class it is, you can speak Hebrew. All right, there's no rule saying that you can't speak the Lashon Kodash, as long as you also translate. All right, you want to also translate. That's in the scripture. If you're speaking another language, you want to have a translator or be able to translate what you said. All right. Of course, I know what the sister said because we know Hebrew, and most of the sisters and most of the brothers and sisters that are in class right now come to the Lashon Kodash class, and they know what Bawayan is or Bawayana is. So give the sister a hand. That's real Torah. So these are feast days that the Lord hates, man. The Lord hates feast days, man, that He did not set up. You are rebellious when you are out there celebrating Christmas, because the Lord set up unleavened bread. While you're celebrating New Year's, you're celebrating New Year's, but the Lord set up so like you're celebrating Easter, but the Lord set up Passover. You just became rebellious. You're celebrating Valentine's Day, but the Lord set up the feast of first fruits. You have became rebellious at this point, because you are going against the government body that the Lord set up, that we are to keep His laws, statutes, and commandments. It's a law for us to keep these feast days and not to celebrate another nations and races of people's feast days, which we now know as holidays. Everybody understands? Khan Allah. I'll finish out the verse and break it down for time's sake. I despise your feast days, and I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. In your solemn assemblies, meaning the peace that coming together. We all come in peace on Thanksgiving. We all come in peace on Christmas. We all come in peace on New Year's. We all come in peace on Easter. We all come in peace on Halloween, quote unquote. We all come in peace on Labor Day. We all come in peace on Memorial Day. We all come in peace on the Independence Day, the 4th of July. And we all cook dinners. We're on the grill. We're barbecuing. We're cooking dinner on the oven, the stove, in the kitchen. The Lord isn't going to smell that, man. The Lord ain't about that flavor. That ain't His cup of tea. That ain't the Kool-Aid that He likes in the pitcher. It ain't none of that. He's not gonna smell in that. That's not. He's gonna smell that like, disgusting. Get this away from me, man. That's what the Lord's gonna do. Because the Lord is against it, because that's not what the Lord set up. He wants to smell that lamb and that unleavened bread and that fried chicken and that baked mac and cheese and the barbecue beef ribs, right? That's what the Lord wants to smell. But these are holy foods. These are clean foods. This is Israelite cuisine, kashar, meaning kosher. Everybody understands? All right, Most High in Christ. All right, with that, With that, for the Israelite School Universal Practical Knowledge, started at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. We're not affiliated with any other Israelite group nor any other Christian organization. Alright, with that, we're going to give a courteous salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, Man Shabbat, Amani, Barak, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua B'Katah, Yadam Matah, Sar, La'agwafi, which means turn and face the sisters. Men of Israel, we're going to give a courteous salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Man Shabbat, Amani, Barak, Yahweh Shema Alathan Ba'ashem Yahushua, Yadam Matah. With that, class dismissed.